Chapter 16, Facilitating Speech, Language, and Communication Skills. Again, make sure you are reading the chapters. I'm not covering a whole bunch of stuff that's in the chapters that you are going to need to know for your final exam or exam number 2. So please make sure you're reading the chapters. You know what communication is, right? It's exchanging thoughts and ideas. Nonverbal is gestures, like what I just did, right? And then printed word is written communication. Speech is the sound system of the language, and it depends on the ability to make sounds, right? Verbal communication is talking out loud to each other. Language is the codes or symbols that we use to communicate with each other. People who have different languages have different codes and symbols. Syntax is your grammar, semantics is your word meaning. So, children will imitate spoken language to learn how to speak, right? Children from more educated mothers hear more words and therefore are able to use more words to get what they want. I just read an article in the New York Times today about a person who is studying the cries of babies, and they start studying them like when they're newborns, and they cry in their languages. So that means that different languages have different rhythms and sounds to them. So this researcher was comparing like German and French. French tends to go up at the ends of utterances, what you're talking, and German tends to go down. So they studied babies, and French babies cry up and German babies cry down because this is what they've heard, right? From when their mothers or the people outside were speaking to them when they're in the womb. So all of this talking that we do is helping children learn how to talk, right? Infant directed speech. We need to talk to babies. We need to talk to babies before they're born. We need to talk to babies after they're born. We need to talk to babies. This is how they learn what communication is for. This is how they learn to communicate. This is how they hear the sounds that they need to hear, right? If you've been in a class with me before, you know I don't like baby talk. Motherese is a different thing. Motherese is putting a lot of texture, a lot of highs and lows and rhythms, sing-songy things into your language and your speech that's directed to children and babies. Baby talk is making words that aren't words, and that, right? We want to talk to them the way we want them to talk to us. There's a lot of different ideas about how language is acquired. So basically, what you need to know is that children develop their language skills on a continuum. They have to hear it. They have to make those first utterances, those cries, those vowel sounds before they can say words, right? The most important thing is that they get a lot of language experience. Okay. This you should all know by now, right? Expressive language is the language that I am expressing to you right now. Receptive language is what you hear. Okay. Again, there's a lot of informative, very important stuff in your text that you should be reading, right? And if you're really interested in this stuff, you want to take that. What is that? There. You want to take language and literacy. I think it's 217. That's a fantastic class. My favorite class to teach. You learn a lot there. So when you have language skills delays, you have difficulty with language skills or hearing, then you need to use alternative language systems. So when you are working with young children, it's important that your body is also saying what your words are saying. Oh, I'm giving this to you. And you are, you're expressing a lot because your body expressions, your nonverbal communication are as important at that point as the words that you're saying, right? And then some children will need to use sign language or gestures or a voice synthesizer, a picture exchange communication system. you'll see pictures of that in your book. Signing, right? So sign language, helping children learn simple signs when they're younger, and then making it more complex as they go along. Baby signs is a thing that people do. They have not found that it really makes a huge difference. What it does is for typically developing children, what it tends to do is lessen frustration, um, because children have a way to communicate what they want to you. Arranging a language learning environment. So you want to be able to have children talking. You want to make sure that there are things for them to talk about. You want to make sure that you are talking to them. We've talked about this before, I think, in this class. Not in this class, actually, but studies have found that teachers do the majority of talking in a classroom, and the majority of that talking is not a conversation, but it's telling children what to do. There need to be more opportunities for children in preschool classrooms in childcare to have discussions, to try out new words, to talk about the things that are going on in their lives. So you need to make sure that you're having opportunities throughout the day where kids get to sit and talk about stuff and you talk with them, so that it's not all you going, Jeremy, you need to sit down. Now we are going to, right? Discussions about things. Snack time, fantastic time for communication conversations. That's what I just told you about. It needs to be a naturalistic language environment. You need to ask open-ended questions. Open-ended questions are questions that don't have a yes or no or a one-word answer, right? So, how did you decide to do that? A lot of the how, what, why, why are you doing that? What made you think of this idea, right? Provide a role model for how to answer questions. Ask questions and answer them. Practice, right? Field trips are a great place to develop language skills because there's a lot of new experiences, there's a lot of new vocabulary, but then there are all kinds of places that you can work on increasing a child's language usage skills ability, right? Picture books, of course, songs, rhymes, chants, wordplay, all that stuff. And then there are ways that you can work directly with children, having them make choices, telling you, would you like the red ball or the blue ball? Can you tell me which one you would like? Having them talk back to you, giving them enough time to answer the question, right? This is what milieu teaching is, when the child initiates the communication and the teacher needs to be ready to respond, right? By being available, prompting a response, being conscious. So this is with children who have speech delays. You want to put them in a situation where they need to initiate the communication, and you need to be able to respond to them. Speech irregularities. So we've all heard children who have speech irregularities, leaving out sounds, making sounds differently, putting new sounds in, and then deviations in speech sounds. So we have stutterers, we have people who lisp, we have people who can't do their R's or their L's or whatever. So it's important when you have a child who has speech irregularities that you're not pointing them out, making fun of them, that you are helping them understand how to work with those speech irregularities, right? Sometimes if it's a child who has, an R or L problem, do you want some grapes? And the child is, yeah, I want some grapes. Oh, grapes. Don't, don't say it's not grapes, it's grapes, right? Because how does that make the kid feel? And think of ways that you can reinforce that, right? Okay, here we are. Don't correct or nag the child. Don't call attention to it. Don't hurry them. Don't compare them to another. help them, right? Um, if you see problems with delays in talking for sure, those stuttering or lisps or whatever, if you see a child who's withdrawn, who is not participating in speech. These are important things very early on to catch and to refer them for services. Okay. Um, One-on-one therapy is best because obviously a therapist can work with the child individually and be the most impactful. Um, and always with everything, if you want to learn something, you need to practice it. English language learners is a different story. So, English language learners should be allowed to and encouraged to keep up their native language. We know that the brains of people who can speak multiple languages are richer and more able to take in new information. So, it builds your brain to know to be able to speak multiple languages, right? Um, make sure that you're not saying that a child is language impaired because of a different language, right? Because they may be very fluent in their own language, but they're still learning whatever language you're teaching in your classroom. And it's important to give them opportunities to be relaxed and comfortable practicing their language in the classroom. Okay, well, that was short. So there you go. That was chapter 16. Read the chapter because, like, I barely scratched the surface here. There's all kinds of stuff in there that you need to know.